one of the ways you build trust with people is to be authentic, to not try to create an online persona of this is who I am and I'm all perfect. So it's not the social media who only puts the good of what's going on in life and not the bad. In community, you're sharing, yeah, I had a bad weekend. I was struggling. The kids were all screaming, and my wife was mad at me, and I yelled at the dog, or I forgot to feed my fish. And you share all of those things, and people are like, okay, you're a real person.
Welcome back to the Rediscover Podcast. I am back with Pastor Leighton. You were one of my first guests. Well, you were my first guest ever.
Oh, I knew it was early. I didn't realize I was number one.
Yeah, that was like the first one.
Oh man, that was cool.
Yeah, it was the first one, and we did it right before I left for International Christian Film Festival last year, not this year. Last year. So it's been a while.
It has been a while. That was back with Dave was on as well.
Yeah.
And we were talking about the thing that he had coming up with a run and Redeem My Land. And I know they've done some progress on that this year of starting to do the rental that was taking place. So just an update on that.
Yeah. And so catch us up. What have you been doing since then? I know, but they don't know.
Oh my goodness. I have so many different hats that I wear. And I mean that both figuratively and literally. I wear lots of hats. I've been doing, transition ministry, going in with churches that need a pastor and doing part-time work with that. But God just keeps pulling me further and further into digital spaces. So I'm one of those, I wouldn't say first adopters, like I am just rushing to get the thing. I've got to be a pioneer. It's brand new. I'm rushing into it. No, I'm more of the person that sees it after it starts to get some friends talking about this new thing that's happening, and I go, okay, God might be able to use that. How can I use that? So to give you kind of a funny story to get to the update is way back when there was some online stuff that was happening and churches starting to have websites. I was doing that. And then I had kids in college that I tried to email them and they wouldn't show up. And I'd ask them, hey, I sent you all these messages. Oh, Facebook me. So I wasn't jumping in because I wanted. It was a matter of here's how I connect. And so early on, I'm doing websites at churches. I'm putting the services online. I had to find a place that would let me do that before YouTube would. I don't know if people remember YouTube started with 3 to 5 minute videos is all you could post. And then when they allowed 10-minute, you had to be such clout to be able to get a 10-minute video. So I was always utilizing technology to reach the communities that I was working in. So God was always putting that in there. And actually, before COVID happened, I was live streaming church services like 10 years before COVID. As soon as YouTube said you can live stream, I'm like, we need to do this and connect. And part of that reason was I had 4 or 5 different directions from the church where I was working at with an hour drive sometimes to go visit a shut-in, and they couldn't come to church. So how do we get into their living room and help them feel still connected to the community there? So God has been taking that and moving me further into what I can be doing. So I work with the church.digital, and part of what I had been doing there was I was the relationship director for a couple of years. So volunteering there, I got connected in there and I'll back up and tell that story, but I got connected in there. So I'm working as relationship director, which, you have fancy titles. What do they really mean? All that. Well, if you boil it down to the end of it, the little tagline associated with my title for several years was, have you met Ted? So I'm the guy that, hey, you're getting connected. You're going, hey, what is this church digital? What's going on here? And I would sit down, have a meeting with you, find out all the things that God is up to, where you're at, what you're doing, what your heartbeat is, and then go, oh, I know who you need to connect with. You're doing a whole bunch of things with American Sign Language. I know 2 or 3 other people that are doing the same thing. Oh, you're thinking about doing micro church? Mm-hmm. I know 2 or 3 people that are doing that. Let me introduce you. Let me get you caught up or get you connected with some other people. So that's part of what I've been doing. And now we made a shift last year. So we had been focused on digital discipleship. and focused on how do you do a digital church plant. So you might be doing a church plant, you need to do discipleship, you're already a physical church, you need to do discipleship. How do we help you do that? What are best practices? What are we learning? What are the trends? What are the things that you can do and adapt? And then we decided we meet a lot of people, and what I do, part of my other stuff is I'm an online Twitch streamer. So in the Twitch stream, in the Twitch world, it started as video gaming. And so being in video game, I know I'm throwing a whole bunch of stuff here at you, Wally, good. So interrupt me anytime you need to.
Yeah.
In the Twitch realm, it was started as you playing video games and you're watching friends play video games and you're doing all those things. So I'm connected over there and I'm working on things with gaming. So that's one of the areas of expertise I bring. Plus, lots of years of working in physical churches and doing discipleship, doing teaching, bringing all those things. So when we shifted, and what I was running into is a whole bunch of Twitch streamers. They have no plans to start a church. They haven't been called to start a church. They're just, God's called me into this space. I feel called by God. I'm sharing my faith. In a sense, they're doing pastoral shepherding to many people at times. They might be discipling people, but that's not what God's called them to. God has called them to be more of an evangelist out there and then hand them off to other people. And so I kept running into people, and then outside of the gaming sphere, we kept running into people as well that were like, well, God's not calling me to plant a church. I might do discipleship, but I'm still in the evangelism, pre-evangelism stage of things. Discipleship is down the road. What do we do? And we realized that God is really preparing a lot of people to move into digital spaces. You can go look at Barna studies. You can go look at other research happening globally. The world is moving into digital and has been there for a while, and people who are looking spiritually are looking there. So either the church needs to be in digital spaces for the people that are seeking, or they're going to find somebody else in those spaces. And so the Church Digital, we made that shift to being a digital missionary sending agency a year ago. And so now we're trying to live into what does that mean? How do you be a digital missionary? What are the things you need to do? And helping people figure that out.
Well, and speaking to the fact that they'll find someone on there, I've often seen that if you're going online and you find some sort of community, it becomes someone's church. Whether it's like, oh, we're going to look at movies together, we're going to review movies, or we're going to whatever it is. I started realizing that, oh, the church down the road isn't your competition. It's all the different churches that are now online, really.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and they're already digital spaces, and people understand how to utilize them and move in them and that kind of thing. And so I thought it was fantastic when you were talking, because so we've known each other forever, but
yeah, for quite a while.
Yeah, when I found you with the Church Digital, it was in Chicago at a.
Oh, that's right. Yes, we were at the Exponential Conference.
Yeah, there you go. And you were with them at the table, and I wasn't sure at first. I'd said hi to you, all that kind of stuff, and then I was doing my thing, and then I was like, well, wait, is he with them? He's like there all the time, and maybe he's part of this thing now. And I was like, wait a minute.
Well, and to back up, I like I said, I might be an early adopter, but I'm not a pioneer. So I didn't expect to find myself in this space. I wasn't looking for it. But some of the things that we at the Church Digital will talk about is that you need to make connection that's going to lead to community. And that's the thing I think a lot of people, when they look at social media, they don't try to do. Or and a lot of churches did this online, or during COVID, they went online suddenly and they broadcast all their stuff. But they didn't know how to make that into community. All they did was put their service online. And I'll tell you what, it does not work whatsoever on Twitch. I can tell you exactly if they're not engaging the conversation at all, because there'll be 2 viewers max. There will never be more viewers of a church that all they do is put a camera and put it on Twitch, and there's no conversation happening. They're missing it. You need to have the place where they connect, but you have to have community. And so social media doesn't do that super well. In a lot of places, it's scroll. You're consuming content. Or even if you go to YouTube, you want really good curated stuff because you want to be an expert in something, but it doesn't mean you're developing a community with the streamer or with the church or whoever it is, unless you're engaging them in some way. Now, Facebook groups can do that. Zoom meetings can do that. Discord can do that. And if you don't know what Discord is, it's a platform that gamers developed because you're playing the video games together on Twitch with your friends, but you can't always talk in the games. At least you didn't used to be able to do that. So you would put headphones on, you'd play in the game, you'd have a voice conversation with your friends and a call, and you can have several people in there in Discord while you're streaming and playing video games on the side. And then it's just like, basically, we talk about asynchronous community. And so if you've not heard that term, it's, text messaging back and forth, but you're doing it in community. So you have lots of engagement. So if you're just putting your service online on Sunday and nobody's there engaging in the chat, and then you have nothing Monday through Saturday of any conversations going on, all you're doing is producing content for people to consume.
Right. Yeah, and hoping they'll watch it.
Right, and then if you're just producing content for people to consume, you're competing with everybody's content out there. This is a thing that when COVID happened for me, and I'd been on for a long time, and now everybody is online and watching online, I was like, why are you going to come watch me instead of go watch Andy Stanley?
Well, we had the same thing. Yeah, why am I going to watch you? I can watch whoever else is better and their service is better, the whole thing. So when they weren't showing up, we're thinking we're putting up the service for our people, and it turns out it's not the case. They're watching something else anyway that's better curated.
Right. So when you start to get into the realm of competing with the quality, and the quality happens in a lot of different levels. The quality of the sound, the quality of the video, the quality of every aspect of your service. And you're in a church of only 100 people and you're trying to compete with a church of 10,000 people and the budgets of 10,000 people, you can't. And you don't have the name recognition either. So you have to lean into something else. And it really is, how do you lean into community? How do you connect with people? And that's by knowing what's going on in their lives, sharing about your own struggles, getting connected with all the things that they're doing. So there's a whole bunch of pieces that I suddenly realized in the middle of COVID was, okay, we've been doing all of these things before, but we need to shift our thinking around this. We really need to not just say, hey, you can be present when you're not here. Right. We need to be present with you when you aren't going to be here, and be the community in your hand, the community wherever you're engaged with that, and have week-long engagement activities where we ask questions, you give feedback, we share what's going on. So some of the things will still be trivial things like you're talking about. You can be gathered around anything. So if you go in a Discord community, there'll be a channel that'll be gaming. There'll be a channel that's probably pet photos. So everybody posts their pet photos. Almost every single one, I think, has food. So people that like to talk about food and all the people that take photos of food and post them, you can go in and have all of those engagements.
It really shows the how people want community.
Oh, yes.
Right? They're trying to gravitate towards this thing where they really, really want community. And they wish they could be a part of it, and they missed it somehow. And I don't think it was just COVID that did that. I think it was already happening.
Oh, the hunger was there before COVID.
Yeah.
And I think some of the symptoms that are not being addressed by some churches are showing up in the fact that if you really weren't connecting with people in your congregation the other 6 days of the week, then those people didn't come back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And in just trying to say, and I've known a few churches that have done this, and on some level I'm like, well, maybe it's a good thing that they're doing it. Their motives might not be right. We're going to stop broadcasting because that'll get people in the building. So I think their motive is wrong. If you stop broadcasting, people will get in the building. No, they'll go somewhere else where they can have what they're looking for. What you need to do is, how are you connecting with them Monday through Friday and doing those things? So,
yeah, because that's been one of the bigger, I guess, pushbacks maybe. And you tell me if this is correct. Bigger pushbacks that you're experiencing as being a pastor that was in a church that was doing it the regular way, traditional way, I guess. And then you start moving into this Twitch space and all these things. I remember, I'll be honest with you, I remember being at some classes meeting and then hearing about, I don't know what Layton's doing. I don't know if he's going crazy or what. He's doing some crazy stuff. And so, because they don't understand it, right? And
to be honest, if you are a full-time pastor and you're not in the realm, like how much time do you have to go and invest and explore and figure those things out? So I was in a pastor group with a pastor who was doing VR ministry, younger than me. So he's putting the VR headset on. He's going to do an street evangelism in VR space. And he's talking about Twitch all the time. So it wasn't until I was sitting home during COVID did I actually even have time to go and explore that. So I don't fault anybody for not having the knowledge and for going, what are you talking about?
Or not understanding.
How
it even works.
Yeah, not even having a concept of it. And to show you how easy it is to be judgmental about things, my kids had been streaming on Twitch and watching Twitch, and I would just go, why would you want to watch people play video games instead of playing video games? Yeah. I don't understand. Well, I didn't. And so I had to go explore that and figure that out to realize, it's connection and community. That's why you're there.
Yeah. The most hilarious thing I've ever seen is my kids. Okay, it's one thing you're watching somebody play a video game.
Yeah.
I literally watch someone else play a video game.
Oh, yeah.
And comment on that.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay.
I know.
I'm watching this and I'm like, that's crazy.
Well,
but I get it, because it's like in our day, if we played a video game together with people, we were sitting next to someone having community.
But if you think about other things that go on, and big events will be that way because they bind us together. Like I remember my parents, when I was growing up, and they would have conversations every once in a while with people like, hey, do you remember where you were when JFK was assassinated? Right. Boom, everyone knows. I can tell you, and my kids aren't quite old enough, all of them, to be able to, where were you when the Twin Towers were attacked? So we have these pivotal culminating things that bind us together, but we also do that on smaller scale too. Where were you in line when the new Star Wars movie came out? Did you see the news? So we do that in other ways where we resonate and we connect around things that we care about. So if you're like anybody listening to this going, man, I don't know what gaming is, I don't understand all of this. Think about sports. Like the Super Bowl is one of the biggest televised events every single year. It is sitting around watching a bunch of people do something that you're not doing. And you're talking with other people who aren't doing it either while watching what they're doing. So gaming is not that much difference. It's a shift. And there's skills that people have in order to be able to do it. In fact, colleges right now, esports is a big thing. Oh, yeah. In fact, the gaming industry is, what are the numbers? Over $300 billion, I think. It's bigger than the NFL and every sports league combined.
That's wild.
So gaming is bigger. And globally, the largest events that have ever happened have been some esports events in Asia, which are just mind-blowing when you start to go look at the number of people attending and watching. A few people sitting around with, controllers or on their keyboard playing a game, team sport here, because they have to coordinate and do all of the activities with one another. I can't even watch the screen and figure out what's going on with some of the games. There's so much stuff. I don't know where to watch. I don't know all of this. But the people that know it, they know all about it. And if you just ask them, they'll get excited. So you don't have to know anything. I could throw out a bunch of names of things. Minecraft is one of the big ones out there that younger people might be playing, and it's pretty big. Yeah. Rocket League's another one. These are things that might end up being some esports things that people would get connected with. And if you have kids, grandkids that are that age, and you just ask them what are they doing in the game, they'll get all excited and tell you.
Oh yeah. My kids are all Minecraft, and they do the different games and that whole thing. And
yeah.
And that's one of the things, right, that a lot of maybe churches might not understand is when they're looking at something and they're looking at something like this and they're like, well, I don't know how to implement that, so I'm not going to implement that. Like I don't want to do it. Also, I want people to come to church because you're so used to counting seats, right, and that whole thing. So then they don't do these things, but then I think that they're losing out on outreach, right? And there could be, for example, instead of you figuring it out, this is what I say, instead of like me figuring out how to play Roblox.
Oh, yeah.
Why don't I teach my kids how to be evangelists?
Exactly.
They're already playing Roblox.
They're already
and they're
playing
already
it.
talking to
Yes.
their cousins and their whatever.
Right. Yeah. It's not difficult if you help them realize, share your faith, be salt and light where you are. Now, I'm spending a lot of time talking about being in gaming, but there are people who aren't in gaming. There are people who are TikTok and consuming content on TikTok. There are YouTube streamers. There are other people who are doing things outside of gaming. And in fact, one of the things that we ran into was globally a number of missionaries who are physical missionaries who are trying to figure out how to be digital, because as they're looking at the rise of persecution in some of the places where they are, they need to figure out, how do we utilize the phone that's in somebody's hand so that we can stay connected, so that we don't lose our faith community as persecution rises? How do we keep each other safe? How do we inform each other? How do we alert each other of things that are going on? So I don't want to mention any countries, but the 1040 window, sure. we have quite a few people that are in that window within the church digital, and we're learning from them. We're also adapting. I mean, we want to make sure that whatever we're doing, you can adapt it to the space that you are. So here in North America, you need to adapt it, but how do you adapt something in Montana when you might be miles and miles and miles away if you're not in a major city, or if you're in New York City? Totally different cultures.
Yeah.
So just the same way that you would go to a foreign country and you would study the culture, if you're going to go onto a platform like Twitch, you need to study the culture. You need to understand the people that are there before you go and do ministry and you tell them, no, that doesn't work. You have to do it this way. We would still want to have that good missionary heart to explore what's going on. And I was mentioned before we got started, I just started, we call it Equipping Digital Missionaries, and I just started a 6-week course doing that this morning, and I had a guy from India who was in the course with me. And then I had people, actually what was really funny is 3 of us are in Michigan, and it's like within the church digital, I think the 2 states that are most represented are Michigan and Florida.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It's hilarious.
And they're the same people because they just fly down. For
No,
the winter.
it's not it's not the snowbirds, but there's definitely growing globally. Actually, one of the interesting things that we run into is we have to think time zone all the time. Yeah. And so in some levels, it's easier to plan things either really, really early morning so that you can pick up people in different parts of the world later in the evening. So I have some meetings that are like 8 in the morning so that people in India might be able to make it, or people, or go later in the day and go 12 hours apart so that people, the other direction over in the Philippines or Australia will be able to make things that are going on. We did our first conference back in April. So, and we had no plans on doing conferences, but we try to listen to what do people need, where are they at, what are they exploring, and they kept saying, we need a conference. We need to bring us all together. Now, we can't do that physically with many of the people we're working with, but even the leadership of the Church Digital, we've never all been together in the same space. Now, I've met most of them in person at one time or another because we travel to similar events like Exponential, and we're close by, and you say, hey, I'm here, and somebody will come up and visit you if you're a couple hours away, those kinds of things. But we're looking at doing things, and we're like, people just said, we need more training, we need more camaraderie, we need to be able to share what we're doing and learning on a bigger scale. And so we decided to plan an event, and we had 1,100 people show up. We had 1,500 sign up. We had 1,100 show up, and we know that because we can check their ISP address. And so we were able to check all of those addresses, and we had that from 85 different countries.
Wow.
So it's not a few people, it's a few people all over the globe. And honestly, the rest of the world, I think, is ahead of the church in North America into realizing that digital is going to help them be able to reach people and connect with people and move forward in mission and ministry. They have more tech limitations in some places. Like, they don't have the big giant PC like I have at home, which is a gaming PC, and all the internet access that I have with broadband gigs up and down.
But everyone has a phone.
But they have a phone.
I heard a recent statistic actually that 90% of the world has a smartphone now.
Oh, I had not heard that one.
I just heard that. Yeah, just
that would make sense.
And I was like, what?
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, it was down in. It was actually about 3 weeks ago, Corden, Indiana, at the Purpose Fest.
Okay.
Tyler Sansom.
Yeah. Tyler. Yeah.
Who speaks to volumes to the way that you were talking earlier about how you connect people. You connected me with him.
Yeah, I connected you with Tyler. Yeah.
Yeah, and
you said you're going to a film festival. I go, hey, I know somebody you need to get connected with.
Yeah, you got to talk to this guy. Yeah, and wound up being a fantastic friendship. We hang out all the time. Look, when we're together, we are together. We're hanging out.
Right.
He's a director of a movie like I Can and the newest one that's coming out, Learning You, and things like that. But they brought up that statistic.
Yeah.
That which is wild, because still and maybe this is kind of a little bit of why North America moves the way it moves compared to everyone else. Is I was driving with my dad at one point, and we were driving, and there was a homeless person on the side of the road. This was in El Paso, Texas, and it kind of upset him that he had a phone.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I'm like, but how do you know? How do you know that someone didn't, number one, buy him the phone?
Right.
Because it used to be that a homeless person could go to a payphone. Those don't exist.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like this is what exists now, and I don't think having a phone. We used to think it was a big luxury. Now it's like a necessity. So most people are they'd be struggling in these weird places, but they have the phone.
Oh yeah. Well, another reason for that at times is it takes a long time for something to get established in the first world. So in order to get phones in your house took a long time to get established in the first world. Well, the third world still had not had home phones established when cell phones came out. You want to go invest in infrastructure to put a phone line to everybody's house, or build a tower where people can have a cell phone?
Right.
It's a whole lot cheaper to build a tower so everybody can have a cell phone. So technology at times does take leaps after it gets fully adopted in places. It takes leaps for the people that are late adopters. They suddenly get brought along and skip a couple of stages along the way,
right.
and all of a sudden they're there. And now, wow, you're almost caught up to us. Now, maybe you don't have the same latest and greatest phone.
Right, the most expensive iPhone or whatever.
Yeah, with all the apps that I have no idea what they do, and I don't use probably 20% of what my phone's capacity is, because it does what I want. I don't need it anymore.
Yeah.
So...
But it's interesting, because that's how people can stay connected from so far away, because they could still, if they're around some sort of, if they've got enough internet. I know there's places that don't have it, but they can get to somewhere where they have some sort of signal, or they can like patch into the Wi-Fi or something. Then they can be a part of a Zoom call, or they could be a part of this conference like you did in April. Because I was on there too.
Oh, there
were so many people that were on there that the system that.
So. Yes, we broke the system. Part of it was what we were running, and I'm not going to throw them under the bus and mention it, but part of what we were running, they had shifted after COVID, because that was no longer where the market was. So we had connections with them. We had used them reliably. So they said, yeah, you can use all of this. They didn't have the server capacity anymore for what we brought them. We do have... plans for our next rounds of conferences to fully be able to have as many people in there as we need. I think that the organization we're going with, I think they've done events of up to 1 million people. I don't expect us to have that many people there. I mean, if anyone's interested, you certainly could show up. And the thing that we've tried to do along the way too, as we're thinking through things, is everything that we're trying to do, we want it to be applicable to the person who's in a third world country, and it's not going to be a hindrance to them to be able to do. So while I might be taking and doing a lot of stuff online and get a really nice gaming computer, I'm not teaching that to people who aren't called to do it, because they might not be able to do it. But if you can stream from your phone, if you can do little videos, I know how to help you do that, because I have friends who are doing that. Or I'll just point you to them, because they're much better at it than I am.
Yeah.
But So we're thinking that through. So we don't want to put a barrier that says our conference costs this much and we have to figure out what country you're in and all of those things. So we've just worked on getting sponsors to pay for the cost of the conferences, and then it's free to come. Now, we're also not planning to publish it later. So it's exclusive. Yeah. So it's free, but it's exclusive. Now, if you sign up and life happens and you can't make it, we'll still give you access to it because you took the time to register, give us that information, and so we gladly want to help you understand and do all those things. We're just not going to go put that out for everybody to consume it as content because we really think that it's a relationship that's the most important piece of everything that we're doing. Because I could give you an instruction manual, and how have instruction manuals really gotten these days? I mean, like go build an IKEA piece, and one of the first things they have is the picture with the headset on and the little microphone, because you're probably going to have to call them, or you're going to have to go watch somebody else build it in order to figure out how to do it, unless you already know what assembled furniture is and how to do that. So we don't just make the assumption that here's instruction manual, you'll be able to follow all the steps.
Well, and your conference isn't really content driven anyway. I mean, you have some things, but then I really love the fact that then you were like having people go out, get connected.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of that connection, a lot of discussion going on, like as though you were at a regular conference.
Well, exactly. And that's the part that broke, was the intentional conversation pieces. So yeah, you go to a conference, and for me personally, the conversations with the people at the conference are the best part, not the content. I go for the conversations. I go for the connections. The networking, all of those things. So yeah, we will, at the conferences, there'll be breakout rooms to be able to go in. If you're interested in one thing, you can go and talk about that. If you're interested in something else, you can go and talk about that. So if it's, I'm trying to think of who's going to be there. Oh, I don't know the name. There's 4 conferences, so I can't think of all the different speakers that are going to be there. But given all of those things that we have going on, I might not have an interest in all the things that are there. So like I was mentioning earlier, if I'm interested in micro church, well, I want to talk to the people that are doing micro church. Right. That's where I want to go spend time. If I'm interested in how do I do prayer online, how do I adapt that online, well, I might go and talk to somebody that's focused on prayer and talking about those things. So it's really a kind of what is the thing that's your biggest need right now that we're offering, and then be able to step in and learn from the people that are already experts in that area and early adopters. And well, one of the things we talk about too, and I love this aspect, I'm fortunate enough that going through ministry, I was in churches that were good with experimentation. It's okay to experiment and try, because maybe we'll learn something really good. And maybe it'll succeed. But if it doesn't succeed, we're still going to learn from it. And so we'll know how to do other things. So I feel really fortunate to have that. But we talk about that constantly, is experimenting, trying something new, figuring something out. Is there something else that you can do that will reach other people that what you're currently doing doesn't do? Instead of just saying, well, this is the way it's always happened, or this is the only way to have it happen. For instance, me deciding to go online and stream reading the Bible on a gaming platform, I don't know anybody else that was doing that. I mean, there were there were a couple of churches that I knew of that and it's not a rebroadcast of an in-person service. It was a fully online service. So they were doing it different ways with a praise team or a solo praise leader. They'd have a Bible message that would be brought. They do some other things, but then in order to engage in the lobby afterwards, they would go to Discord and they'd hang out in the voice channels and have conversations after church and do Bible studies and those kinds of things. So I knew of a few churches that were doing it, very few. I think when I started, I found maybe 3 churches, and in the past 4 years, that number just keeps growing. But there were a few doing it. But I also, if I want to go watch somebody, if I just copy exactly what you do, it doesn't mean it'll work for me. Because think about if Shaquille O'Neal spent all of his time working on free throws, which everybody kept saying he needed to do, he was still not going to be Steph Curry shooting from the 3-point line. That's not what he should work on.
Yeah.
He needs to work on being able to finish his shot and dunk when he's fouled and hacked by 4 people. I mean, that's what he needed to work on, because that's where his strength is in getting the ball in the net from 2 feet away. So if I just go and copy somebody that I can't actually execute, it doesn't help me to do anything.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we want to adapt. We want to experiment.
Well, we use that kind of verbiage anyway in church, where we say, you know what, Pastor Leighton's going to reach people that he's going to meet that I'll never even see or never meet, right? And then I have these people in my circle that they're in my circle because God brought them there, and we connect because of my personality and because of their personalities.
Right.
So it's going to be different for everybody, right? It's a community of, which I wish people made churches this way to begin with.
Oh, yes.
Right. It's kind of like when you start a church, it's like, oh, let's, the way traditionally you start a church. But what if it was like, okay, this church has this specific purpose and everyone rallies around this, and we are here together because we are.
There are a few of those out
Yeah.
there, and people might have run into them here or there, like Cowboy Church. Where they might have heard of that one where, oh yeah, there's a bunch of out west, they're out on the range, they're getting a rodeo or whatever, so Cowboy Church will meet with them. Or Biker Church, where you got a biker rally going on, and it'll meet during events or around gatherings, those kinds of things. Actually, I think one of the most fun ones is I met them at church planters in Germany. I met them at a conference, and it's called Nerd Church. So it's just Nerd. They squished it all together. And so they just started meeting to meet people who love the same nerdy things that they do. And then a church will evolve out of it. So they spent a couple of years gathering and having an event where we're going to do something nerdy and we're going to have food. And then out of that, they built the relationships. Out of that, they share Christ. Out of that, now a church has started. So
as opposed to the other way, when you find a church building and you get in, then you try to plug in, you try to make friends, or they try to force groups on you,
right?
Which is not a bad thing. Like if we're already there,
if you're new in a community and you already know church, then some of those are really good systems,
right? Because now you're getting together because of this other commonality, I guess, for example, right?
Another place where, and I actually was having conversations about this recently, so I'm really thinking through this. As how do I explore this? How do I help others? So traveling sports teams. So you might have a kid that's on a traveling sports team. It doesn't matter what the sport is. I've known people, baseball, hockey, soccer, gymnastics. You go away for the weekend to go compete in big tournaments, and you're away from your home church. But you're also with a whole bunch of other parents who are there. Some might be in your church. Some might be in another church. Some might be in no church whatsoever. What if as an I don't want to say as a church or an organization, but what if that group of families who were doing the same thing, going the same place all the time, had an online connection to a church where they could stay connected? They could have all of those things that a church would traditionally do with a Bible study or other things that are going on, or have a shepherd who would oversee, and they'd be able to have prayers together. Now, maybe some people are doing that when they're traveling, but there's not always a lot of intentionality around it. And then, frankly, what I've experienced when that happened at times is the church would be a little bit upset you're never here. And, oh, you're traveling again. Oh, when are you going to be in church? And then put guilt and shame on you as a parent for caring about your kid's likes and caring about your exploring and helping your kid elevate themselves in competition, because maybe they have a passion for it and maybe they will be good at it and maybe it'll be their profession. Yeah. So you don't know if you don't pursue it, and if you don't pursue it, you'll never be there. And the church, instead of coming alongside and walking alongside, I know I'm picking a really niche kind of area, but I'm doing that intentionally because I don't think there's that many people that are going to be in this realm that are doing it. But also, you can begin to think through, oh, yeah, if for the next 18 weeks, we're going to be gone every weekend, I lose my church community if I can't connect to my church community online. I lose my kids lose their church community if they can't connect online. Or just when the season rolls around and you're in any sport and youth group is on Wednesday night, well, you're still in sports on Wednesday nights. You can't go to youth group. Why is it that we make the barrier for people being in the building in order to receive ministry instead of going to people where they are and helping to have ministry when they need it. That's one of the things that I've made that shift. Now I'm not arguing with anybody that's doing ministry in the building. I love being in the building. I just did pulpit supply the last 2 Sundays, and I'm so open to doing that. I mean, I drove an hour both Sundays to be able to be there, just to be able to be with people and to worship and to praise God in person. I love doing that, but I also love doing it online with my friends that I know really well, and we chat weekly. We'll chat 2-3 times during the week about different things, or they'll show up to my stream and we have conversations.
So what exactly does something like that look like? When the people that are listening, they're thinking, well, what even is church digitally, right? And I remember right before COVID hit, I learned how to do like house church stuff, right? And I went and learned from Francis Chan, and I went to his training and this whole thing. And I even saw that, and I'm like, well, this is very different from regular church, and I can see how people are connecting here and that kind of thing. But then now there's this digital. So what does it look like? I think people are too used to like, oh, so are you going online and you singing together? Are you listening to praise and worship and then listening to someone have a sermon, or what does it look like?
There are a variety of different ways that it works and it looks like, and some people adapt it different ways that have not even been created yet. So I do happen to know of an unrelated to gaming church called Imagine Church. So I've got several friends from Imagine Church, and the way that they started, they were fully online digital church only until I want to say 2 years ago, when they got gifted a church building and asked to take over a physical church. Oh. So they started out as Zoom. And so what they did is the pastor records a message with intentional pauses in the message to answer questions, and you turn to everybody else that's in the community and who's on the Zoom call, and usually 5, 6, 7, 8, because you get larger than that, it's hard to have that happen. So it's intimate. You have the same people that are there week in and week out. You ask the questions and you push play again, and there's a leader for every one of the small groups that are gathering that way, and they would happen Monday to Sunday, and then they would happen again the next week. Well, then how to do worship? Well, actually, their worship leader is he and his wife and their kid are driving around the U.S. and they're living in a van and they're exploring the United States. And so each week, wherever they're at, they do a worship song and they sing that and they lead worship, and the people in the church, they sing along on Zoom. Now, I don't sing really well. That's uncomfortable for me. That's not my great way of I want my voice drowned out by everybody around me. That's what I want. So that might not resonate with me, but that's okay. For those people, and many of them had limitations of getting into the church building. They had either some disabilities, or they might be, I can't make it to church on Sunday because I've got this in my life, or I've got work, or whatever it is, I can't make it. Or I'm a caregiver for other people. They can't get out of the house, but I can't have worship if I can't. So there's a lot of reasons why. And they've just had Monday is this time, Tuesday's this time, Thursday's this time. Here's the leader for each one of those. And then we go to the next time. And a couple of times a year, they would do big gatherings that might be live, or we're going to try to bring everybody together into one large Zoom meeting so that we feel like it's all one church and not just a bunch of small micro churches. So there's one example of how you might do it. Others would you might segregate the different parts of what you do on a Sunday morning. And by that, I mean, part of what we think about singing. So what if one day a week, what you're doing is gathering for singing, and you have a praise team or a streamer who is doing all of the worship, and you can make song requests, and you're singing and people are making song requests, and you do that for an hour, and you just spend a whole bunch of time singing and praising and all of that stuff. Well, then you might have your Bible study another time of the week, and you might have your sermon another time of the week. So you could take all of those elements and break them up. And then, depending on your theology, when you get into the sacraments is where people go, well, how do we do that? How do we figure it out? I'm not answering that question. The Church Digital's not trying to answer that question. We're saying, if all the other elements that you would do with people of helping them grow in their faith, helping them to take one step closer to Jesus, if you can do that, why wouldn't you do that? In fact, as I spend a lot of time thinking about it, and people say, well, I think you have to be in person in order for any of these things happen. Let's take a step back and think about, what did Paul do? Paul wrote to churches he wasn't able to be present with them physically. Sure, most of them at one point he had been physically present before writing all the letters he did. But because he wasn't physically present, he didn't say, oh, well, throw up my hands. I can't do ministry with you. I'm sorry that you guys are having problems. I can't shepherd you from far away. Yeah. He wrote letters to them to help shepherd the flock while he was not with them. And in fact, we got personal in mentoring Timothy and Titus and wrote letters to them when he couldn't be there. And let's not forget, he wrote to the church in Rome, having never visited Rome. He hadn't been there. So we just have what we've inherited, and we forget to think through, wait a minute, the church has always been about innovation and always about feeling the leading of the Spirit and always moving into new spaces. So don't get caught up with, I haven't seen somebody do it this way before.
Well, and 2 years ago, I was at a GACX conference.
Yeah.
And they were talking about digital stuff, and I was going to all those little breakouts, and I wanted to learn what they were doing. And in one of them, they were showing how this church, this pastor, in the evening, he'd have his church service with regular church. In the evening, he'd go online, and he'd do the same thing, kind of like street preaching in these realms, right? And in the meta, I guess. And they even showed that he... Now, I don't know how he handled this, and I was fine with it. But you could tell most people started to wince about it. His avatar was baptizing another avatar in a fake river that was there, right? Or whatever.
Right. The thing to think through with that is the recipient, not the other people. So some churches handle it different ways. In VR space, for those people that is something that's been part of their life for a long time. Mm-hmm. They want their online community that they visit in VR to participate in that with them. And for them, that is real water. That is actual water. Now, it might not be physical water, but it's real. It is all the symbolism. It is all the elements of it. So I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying for the person who's receiving it, who's in the VR space, is going to be accepting and believing everything that we would say about a physical baptism, and they're going to be accepting it as having happened. The other thing, if you're saying, well, no, it has to be physical, how do you do it with we're not in the same place? Pastor friend of mine who is at Lux Digital Church, he's worked through this with his church, and so who do you have that you can ask to do this for you? And we'll either do it live, or we'll video record it, and then we'll play it in the church service so that we can participate with you in what's taking place. So there's more ways to do that. Like I said, there are some limitations depending on your theology of how that works.
Right, because there's some people that say, hey, that's an outward sign of something that's happened inward.
Right.
Well, if that's the case, if that's your community online, you want people online to see that.
Yes.
Right? How else would you show them that this happened to you, right? Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, it's also, like I said, the younger you are and the more things that you are used to in the digital realm, the less these conversations mean anything to you.
Yeah.
They would have, like, my kids, probably not quite my kids, but younger than them, would have the thought of, well, obviously you could get baptized in VR. Why wouldn't you? Obviously you can take communion in VR. Why wouldn't you? We're always doing things in VR, and we're simulating all of the things that are happening in real life. It just makes sense to them.
Well, the idea of if you just go back through technology, and look at the Christian church was all about the TV is the devil's box, and so then the innovators were the ones that did this TV evangelism thing, right?
Well, even before that, the radio.
Yeah, and before that, the radio, and and you see it how they're constant. Oh no, not the web, not this, not music videos, and it's constantly. I think that we as Christians are the biggest hindrance because we're trying to figure out, does this work with my theology or not work with my theology? Because we're looking more at the message and not the way that it could still be the message. It's just the delivering part is different.
Oh, right.
Or how you do it is different, right? Because then you move in, now you move into, well, you're looking into digital, but back when everybody was against, let's say TV evangelism, and now every single one of those churches is trying to put their stuff online. like,
Right.
Things shift and things change, and it becomes more of a non.
Well, it also, over time, the person on the radio became normalized, and the person on television became normalized.
Yeah.
I mean, it was there when I was growing up. So I don't know the struggle of, hey, what do you mean you can go on TV and evangelize? We can't do that because you don't know the person and where they are. And they could be watching you from somewhere else. And how do you know they really accepted Jesus? And how are you going to get them plugged into a church? And before that, if you're talking crusades, well, yeah, somebody comes into town and crusades generate all this energy and all of that. And then people leave. They go back to life. What happened to all of those people?
Yeah.
We often forget the Holy Spirit can work. And we want to solve all of the things before we start that the Holy Spirit can help us figure out when we're down the road. I love going back and reflecting on the book of Acts from the standpoint of what was planned and what wasn't planned. So when they see there's a problem with the distribution to the widows who are Greek, they solve the problem. We're going to have 7 deacons. What are the next 3 chapters about? How the deacons passed out food? No. Not about that at all. It's about all the things the deacons are doing that have nothing to do with passing out food. You get stories of them going and spreading the gospel. Wait a minute, I thought they were supposed to be passing out food, but one of the requirements was fill of the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
They had to be filled with the Holy Spirit. And when the Holy Spirit came on them, the Holy Spirit led them. I love the story of Philip going down to the Ethiopian eunuch, and then boom, he's disappeared and he's flown somewhere else because the Holy Spirit's got another assignment for him. To me, that kind of Spirit-led filled things, when you start listening, and this is what I did for, I would say, 6-8 months when I first got online about 4 or 5 years ago, was just listening to people that were streamers that were talking about their faith, feeling called by God. And what they said is, I love my friends who are online here. Why wouldn't I come to my friends who are online here? Why would I go somewhere else? These are the people I care about. These are the people that I'm ministering to. These are the people that I understand. And so God was raising up people, and sometimes they'd go to their church and they'd try to tell their pastor, and their pastor wouldn't understand, or they'd ask questions. And oh, wait a minute, you're playing Grand Theft Auto? That's violence. You can't minister to people.
I was about to bring that up. How does that?
In Grand Theft Auto, actually, I heard recently there is someone who has planted a church inside of Grand Theft Auto, which I'm really excited about. So actually, in the church, and if you're in the game, they go around taking care of the homeless people and doing acts of kindness in the game. It's amazing
Well, I told my son was playing that one time. Yeah. He's in his 20s, and I go, hey, what would it look like if you played this game and you were just a model citizen?
Yeah.
Don't drive like that. Drive and stop when it turns red.
Yes.
And do just that simple thing. What would that look like? But that is the thing. There are people out there that just can't fathom that being a thing. I just shot you, but let me tell you about Christ.
Right. Well, think about it from anything that you are doing. And guys, really, this resonates, but I think it resonates with anybody when you are side by side doing something together. So if it's, with my sons or other friends of mine, we're going camping and hiking. We're camaraderie going and doing the things that we're doing side by side. Yeah. We're making the fire together. We're pitching the tent together. We're doing those. What are you going to do? You're going to have conversations with people. Or if it happens to be in the kitchen and you're doing those things. I spend a lot of time in the kitchen with my mom and my daughter and side by side making whatever we're doing for dinner and talking through and washing the dishes and all that. You're side by side with people. What do you say? Sorry, can't talk about Jesus right now. I've got to go and wait until Sunday, and we'll go to church, and the pastor will tell you about it, and then we'll go to Bible study, and then you can ask me questions at dinner on Sunday.
Right.
It would seem preposterous. So, yeah, you can, and there's, like I said, there's lots of strategies. There are some people that put Christian in their tag, which didn't used to be a thing. If you don't know tags, it's a way for people to search for you.
Okay.
So one tag that was one of the first ones was family friendly. So if you are trying to have content that, your 13-year-olds are allowed to be on Twitch, or 14, whatever the age is, and you're like, I want it to be safe, you could set guidelines, say, if it says family friendly, it's okay to watch them. So I know there's not going to be swearing. I know there's not going to be nudity. I know some of those things are off limits. So okay, you put that tag out there, so people looking for that can find you.
Right.
You can put other tags in there like chill or relaxed or mental health or a whole bunch of things. So you can put Christian in there too.
Wow.
So some people that are looking to find other Christians, they go look for that. Other people that want to go troll Christians and attack Christians, go look for that. Some people will say, no, I'm not going to put the tag Christian in there. I don't want to lead with that because I don't want the Christians coming and finding me. I want the people far away from Jesus to find me. So I'm going to go play the games that are the darkest games, that are the farthest away from people. I have a friend who does a lot of horror games. Now, some people can get scared by that and think that there's some demonic level of that, so don't go do it. But he feels called to those people that are in that dark space because they need light over there. The people walking in darkness need to see a great light. So we need to think about, and I think you're talking about on earlier how the church didn't want to go into some of these spaces. Like, oh, that's really dark. The internet is really dark. There's awful things on there. Why would you want to go in there? Because there's people on there that are lost and lonely.
And even in real life, right? Like there's
true.
There's always the joke of oh, well, now you're going to go into the bars.
Yes.
Well, and I would say it's an individual thing, and it's by the leading of the Holy Spirit. Because if you are an alcoholic and you can't handle it, you probably shouldn't.
Yes,
be ministering in the bar, right? Or places like that. But like it's I think there's a lot of criticism from the outside of someone trying to do some good in a place they'd never go anyway.
Right. Well, and if you are going to go, I think you need to be called there. Mm-hmm. I got called into gaming. I had no plans on being in the gaming sphere and gaming space, but I always gamed. I played lots of games. I didn't stay up with all of it, and I never got into first-person shooter games, not because I didn't like it. I'm just slow. I
can't do it.
I got to sit there and spend 5 minutes aiming and figuring out what's going on before I'm ready to pull the trigger. I'm like already been shot 100 times before that happens.
Yeah.
So that just didn't sound like fun to me. I like role-playing games, and I really liked it when they had turn-based. So it was, all right, it's your turn. What do you want to do? Well, let me think of what my possibilities are here.
Oh, yeah.
And then I get to spend 5 minutes deciding, and then I do that, and then I wait and see what happened. I mean, so there's different games. So I can't go and pretend to be a great first-person shooter, and I'm going to reach people for Jesus there. Now, I could go be on a team of people who are, because I'm hanging out with them because they love me, and they're okay with me being miserable and bringing the team down. I can do those kinds of things. But you might not be called to gaming space. So just because I'm talking about it, all I'm trying to do is expose you to the idea that God might call you to do something that you love. He might call you to minister to the people that you love hanging around with. So if it's you loved going golfing, are you actually sharing Jesus while you're golfing? Do you ever take the time to do that? It doesn't have to be the whole time. You don't have to be the street evangelist that the whole time you're playing 18 holes. Well, in 1 Corinthians, Jesus said, or Paul said this, and do you know the Sermon on the Mount? Well, let me tell you the Sermon on the Mount, and then recite it. That's. It's not
I think it's relationship first.
Oh, yes.
Especially with these things. It's one thing if you're like preaching on a box in the middle of the street, but it's another thing when you're with people doing things. It's all relationship first. They don't care until you trust you.
Yeah. That's such a big thing. Yes. Online, one of the other things that we get questions around too is, well, isn't it going to be a bunch of people who are not telling you the truth about things? And while there may have been times when that's true, and maybe in social media at times that's true, but when you are in places that are designed to create community, it's not usually what happens. In fact, it is very quick to build trust with people. And one of the ways you build trust with people is to be authentic, to not try to create an online persona of this is who I am and I'm all perfect. So it's not the social media who only puts the good of what's going on in life and not the bad. In community, you're sharing, I had a bad weekend. I was struggling. The kids were all screaming, and my wife was mad at me, and I yelled at the dog, or I forgot to feed my fish. And you share all of those things, and people are like, okay, you're a real person.
Well, is it ever happened that you see that? I wonder if it's because, like, for example, when we go to physical church, a lot of people put a front up.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And they're not willing to be that authentic.
Right.
But then you get onto one of these, like I was able to get onto the Equipping Digital Missionaries course with you, and then you get to know these people right away.
Oh, yeah.
But also it could be because, well, it's easier to talk to you guys on this Zoom call than it is for me to do it in the church foyer. And also, whatever I tell you, it's not like you're here.
Yeah. There's some of that there still has to be the trust that gets established. So by coming into the course, you're coming into the course because we've already established some trust with you.
Yeah.
But in a stream, I can build trust with somebody in a very, very short amount of time by how I engage and interact with everybody else that's in the chat, by how I address people when they come in. So I like very intentionally, I try to make a very loving and kind space where, you can argue with me, you can question me, that's fine, but you can't say things about other people that are in my stream. Right. That's a no-go. You can't call names to other people in my stream. That's a no-go. So when people come in and they share something of like, hey man, I'm just so tired. I've been so tired lately. I can't get anything, and it's like, oh man, I'm so sorry about that. You pause and have compassion for a person.
Right.
And you say, hey, have you looked into what might be going on there? Now, the other person who's in there, or some of the other people who are in there might have said nothing yet. They're watching everything you do. And so I've had this on several occasions where somebody will come in and they'll be hanging out for a while, and suddenly about a half hour, an hour after being in my stream, they finally are like, I have something to share. Is it okay if I share this? My life's falling apart right now, but I feel like this is a place I can share. And one of the things I always do when someone shares something, because sometimes you'll get people that almost just vomit it, like it's the first place they've found that's safe enough to be able to say what's going on, right. And people are like going, oh no, is that okay? What is going on? Can we help them? And I say, thank you for sharing, because you've just established that you believe that we're a trustworthy place, that you trusted us with what's going on in your life. So I want to first start, thank you for that. And then I'll address whatever they said of, I'm sorry that's going on, or, oh my goodness, that's really horrible, or, try to go from there. But it's that initial engagement of establishing that there is I'm a trusted person. I am going to keep you safe. I love you, and you're not an agenda for me.
It's very important that people out there understand how important this kind of ministry is.
Yeah.
And there's two examples that just recently happened. And one is that recently the shooter in Minnesota, they found that he was probably part of this community online that goes through like Telegram or something like that.
Okay,
instead,
yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And this community, when you get in there, eggs people on to do something crazy and drastic.
Okay.
And that when you're sitting there and you're someone that's like, oh, I'm having these feelings, and they're just like, well, you should go shoot up. Hey, you should go do this. You should do that, and I also post it so we know. And then you're like, then you're cool to us, kind of thing.
Right.
And the other one, real quick, the other one is recently it's been found out that a child was a teenager who, otherwise, as far as his parents understand, were fine. He was fine, but he was doing some homeschooling, and they paid for the ChatGPT, so he could do some of his work. He started to have conversations with ChatGPT about if he were to kill himself, how could he best hide it, or if I leave this rope out, will my mom see? And they're obvious to a human being,
right?
Crying for help,
right.
Signs. ChatGPT read it as, oh, you're trying to hide it. Maybe you should hide it this way. Maybe you should hide it that way. This kid committed suicide.
Yeah.
And how important it would have been to be in a better space like yours, where they say one thing and everybody catches on right away, and everybody wants to help and they want to be a part of that, and that's the community.
Yeah. It is, anywhere that you go, there can be people that are going to, do the same things in person that they're going to do online. They might feel a whole lot more power over people when they're online because of some anonymity and you don't know who I really am,
Right.
and I can do that. But frankly, I remember back in school when somebody would have a dumb idea and you'd egg them on to go do the dumb thing. And, and I was usually one of them that was egging people on to go do the dumb thing and it wasn't as serious as some of the things we just mentioned, but it would be like, oh yeah, it can happen whenever there's a group and you want to feel like you're part of the group and that you belong, instead of finding the place where you do belong and then investing in that place.
Right.
I mean, that's I do often talk about that. Part of what I feel like I'm doing is creating Christian community for people that want Christian community but don't know that's what they need.
Exactly. That's very well said.
So, and I have plenty of people who come in and are like an atheist or a Muslim or a Sikh or whatever it is, and they will. In fact, actually, I'll share this. I was just on stream yesterday, and I have a Sikh who comes into my channel regularly, which is another religion, and we have cordial conversations and all of that. I've been building a relationship with him over a couple of years now. He comes about once a month regularly, and we have good conversations. But this is going to be a slow process of does he come to Christ or not? And if he doesn't, I'm still there to be his friend and to love on him. He asked me to pray for him yesterday.
Wow.
He said, I've got a medical condition that just came up. I'm kind of anxious about it. I trust you. Can you pray for me? It's like, absolutely. I'm so honored that you asked me to pray for you. Regardless of the fact we're different faiths, I would say that. But the fact that he is of a different faith and he trusts me and values me enough to say, can you pray for me? To me, that's a huge thing. And like I said, I can tell you a lot of stories like that, and others online can too, that we haven't necessarily taken and created spaces like we used to have in communities where you were smaller communities, there were third spaces, everybody hung out together, everybody knew each other. We're very, very mobile physically. And the only thing that we can really have, I think, anymore if you are people like me who are mobile, and I've until the house that I'm currently living in, which is I'm going up on 9 years this month.
Okay.
My average time living in a house was 3 years. My whole life, 3 years.
Wow.
And I've only exceeded that 3 times. So it like I'm mobile. I'm moving. So to have a faith community in the palm of my hand on a phone would have been amazing.
What is a third? What did you call it?
Third spaces. Third
Okay.
spaces.
Can you define that?
Yeah, good question there. So, like if you think about traditionally some trying to think clubs that you might be, like a fraternity kind of a club. So we still have some of them today, but the membership has gone way down. So maybe you are part of the Elks Club, or they're in Freemasons, or you're things like that. That'd be one place where third spaces would happen. Or if church is kind of like a third space where you would go, but you've got home and work. Where do you go when you're not at home or work? Or you got home and school. Where do you go when you're not there? So, it used to be maybe everybody goes to the same lake for the weekend every time, and you would hang out there. Or what I wanted when I was a kid was skate parks. After I grew up and went to college, they built them where I lived, which is a little disappointing. But that you go hang out at the park, you go hang out at the swimming pool, you go hang out. Where is it that you go spend time to be with friends? That's really what a third space is.
Okay.
So I think with the rise of a lot of restaurants that are chain restaurants and things like that, you're just traveling around to places. You don't go to the one place in town that's a restaurant. We get lots of restaurants in town.
Yeah.
Maybe you pick one and you go there all the time. I've started to do that as I've gotten older. When I was younger, it was like, oh, we haven't been here in a while. Let's go there. Oh, we've been there. We were there last week. We're not going again. We got to go somewhere else. Now it's, no, I want to know the same people that are working there. I want to get to know the people that are working there. I want to know about what's going on in their life and hang out in that space.
And people that can't, for some reason, they struggle to understand what you're doing, are doing the same thing in real life. Like, for example, I had a best friend that we grew up with since we were 16 years old. He was atheist. I was saved, and we went back and forth all our lives until finally, like literally like 6 months before he passed, gave his life to Christ.
Yeah.
right? But that was like a long-term relationship.
Oh yeah.
And I think, and I don't know if you could, if you put your finger on this, but I think it's interesting. Like, sometimes I even do it. Let's say you're watching a Christian movie, right?
Yeah.
And then it just so happens that they drop something that's probably inappropriate for a Christian movie, and there's something that you're not used to. Maybe they say butt, or they say something weird like that, or whatever, or worse, right? Right. So immediately your Christian guard goes up and you're like, oh, I can't believe they did that. I can't believe what. Then after that, you go home and watch Netflix just fine.
Oh yeah.
Why is that? Why do we do that? Like, so people would criticize this type of ministry. Mm-hmm. But then they're doing it really anyway. The same things you're doing, you're just doing it in a different platform, in a different space. But why do we criticize things and get upset about them? Like for example, this new movie Sketch that's for kids that came out from Angel Studios that was in theaters. I found out that I didn't realize that. I took my kids to watch it.
Right.
It was a little very Goonies style, if you will. Not that many bad words, but there was like 2. I saw people get up and walk out, which is fine, and they should be able to do that, right?
Right.
But are they the same people that are watching, Severance? Well, and does it matter at that point, or are you trying to hold this weird thing that you're not in?
Well, maybe to go back to what you were talking about, or you mentioned earlier, with in church, you're trying to put on a persona, and I'm trying to look a certain way, which we can go back, and historically there's always been groups of people that you have to look and behave a certain way to fit in, and so it becomes, heightened in some places where all you're doing is watching everyone else to make sure they're doing everything exactly the right way. Anything outside of that has to be bad. And then also you can even look at maybe some of the stuff with online goes back further, to other things that happened. Like, I'm trying to think of the name when Dungeons and Dragons came out. I can't think of the name for that. Something terror or horror or something like that. Anyway, where it got attacked because it's of the devil and all this other stuff, and then you get explicit lyrics and got to put a label on things. There's always a group of people that wants to label things. And then they can use that. I think sometimes they're using it for power. Sometimes I think they're using it for their own clout or those kinds of things.
Well, I see a lot of it as a hypocrisy of sorts, right? It's just I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah. To get into the hypocrisy thing is take whatever sin that you struggle with, and now make sure nobody knows that you have that sin, and every other sin that you see, point it out so that nobody pays attention that you might have a sin. Because you rail against the things you would never do the most. So
yes, and if you're in a physical church and you have that guard up and you're trying to build this persona in this wall, then nobody ever finds out. Nobody can help you.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, sometimes on an online space, you can be open about that stuff.
Oh yeah.
And be trusting in that way, and then people are there non-judgmental.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. And you also, I think what makes those spaces really good is joint vulnerability. And it really starts with whoever sets the tone. So if I share first and I share something that's like, whoa, you struggled with that, or you've come out of that, and people are going to be more apt to share more things in kind with that depth of level. Right. But if what I say is, I've struggled with thinking about swearing.
Yeah.
But I haven't done it. Okay, whatever. Like,
yeah.
So what is that doing for your life? I mean, it's like, I stubbed my toe the other day, and the first thing that came through my head was HE double hockey sticks, but I did not say that. I mean, and I don't mean spell it out. I mean, what came through my mind was saying HE double hockey sticks. I didn't even dare say that. It's like,
it's like
you're making it impersonal, and really, like, look at the disciples. Like, look at, and even go through all of Scripture. Scripture doesn't whitewash people's lives. It doesn't whitewash their mistakes. It's not, elevating them and aggrandizing. Oh my goodness, these are so amazing. Look at how big a mistake they made. No, it's not celebrating the mistake. It's celebrating the recovery from the mistake. It's celebrating the overcoming. It's celebrating what they're able to do despite the mistakes that they make. And if we don't give people room to make mistakes and share their mistakes and grow from where they're starting, one step closer to God, one step closer to being Christ-like, why would you ever start that journey if you have to be finished before you start?
Well, and we as humans ruined it long ago, right? Like one easy thing would be confess your sins to one another.
Yeah.
This obviously speaks to that.
Oh,
We're going to be honest with each other. We're going to let each other know, not so that the other one can judge the other one, but so that we can help each other. And iron sharpens iron. But then it turns into, well, go confess it to someone who's better than you, who probably never does that.
Yeah.
And go, and it becomes this whole thing where you don't, you just do it incorrectly, and it takes away all the community that Jesus was trying to show them how to have.
Yeah, I really think as you move online, you really need to be thinking, how do I create digital community online? And maybe you only have the capacity to have a small group of 10, 12 people. Great. Jesus had a small group of 12 people. They did pretty good.
And one of them screwed up.
Yeah, one of them. Yeah.
So,
right.
Yeah, exactly. So how, if you could quickly give like 3 bullet points, what would be the benefits of these conferences or even the courses that you guys do?
It is thinking through intentionally being in digital spaces, because people are going to be in digital spaces, whether you're consuming content or you're engaging in that comment or content by commenting or wherever you are. It is really hard, unless you don't have a smartphone and you don't have a computer, to not end up in digital spaces wherever that may be. So it's thinking about, how do you make connections, and are those connections leading to community? And when those connections lead to community, how do you equip people in there? So as you're moving along, you want to be equipped yourself, and you want to equip other people to do ministry in those spaces, and then mobilizing people to go out. So the church as a whole should be thinking about it that way, of how are we connecting? If you're a physical church, how are you connecting with people? Because honestly, I think I've heard this recently, that the average church, if someone shows up new to your church, they have watched 4 to 6 services, or maybe it was 4 to 6 months. I can't remember what it was. They have watched you online for that length of time before they show up. They already know what you do.
Yeah.
They are now there because they want to commit to a connection with you. The connection has led them to coming to be in community with you. So what are you going to do with that? And if you're able to take the people who are online who are far away, because maybe you suddenly have a group of people in Anchorage, Alaska that somebody shared with a friend, and now you got a dozen people in Anchorage, Alaska watching your church service. How are you going to help them have community? They're not going to move to where you are.
Right.
So they already have connection to you. How are you going to create community? And then how do you equip your people to be intentional of going out and being missionaries, mission-minded wherever they go, and then mobilizing them, sending them out? So those will be the things that everything that we do is centered around that idea. The conferences, just to talk about those that we have coming up. So we did one conference in April. We were doing a series of 4 conferences this fall. So the first of those is going to be reaching your digital neighborhood. So wherever you're hanging out online already, if you're not on Twitch, don't go hang out on Twitch unless you got a friend over there that's going to hang out with you. Don't go over there. Maybe you're on Facebook. Great. Yeah. Go be salt and light in Facebook. Maybe you're on TikTok. Great. Go help be salt and light there. So it's reaching your digital neighborhood, thinking through where you already are. That will be on. These are all on Wednesday. I don't remember what time they start, but if you go to missionary.digital, you'll be able to get all the info for all the conferences. So first one is September 17, and that will be the Reaching Your Digital Neighborhood.
And these are all free?
These are all free, 100% free. You just need to sign up in order to be able to get the link to be able to show up and watch online and get copies later if you miss some parts or you want to review them, you want to watch them again. Yeah. The second one, and we touched on the idea of addiction and other things. Our second conference on the 24th is going to be Control Alt Recovery. So we have been striving for years to find a partner to help us figure out how to do recovery ministry online, regardless of what it is. So we're just in the process of doing that with an organization out of South Africa. And so we're moving into that. I don't want to share too much detail. I want you to come to the conference and check it out. But we're going to start doing some beta testing of those groups to help people recover from whatever it is. So they'll be generic to begin with, but down the road, we will probably have very specific recovery groups for very specific things that you might have addictions with, or just general recovery, because frankly, we're all screwed up in some way, and there's probably some dysfunction that we need to recover from.
Yeah.
So those,
there's other two, or there's two more?
Yep. There's two more. The third one will be on October 1st, and that's going to be our European conference. So a friend of mine, Simon, who is in Germany, is a church planter, a digital church planter. He oversees a digital church planting network. He's the one going to be hosting that in Germany. Now, I think the time, I've got to get up like 4 or something in the morning to attend. So if you're in the U.S. and you're like, yeah, I don't have any connections in Europe, yeah, you might not make it, but you could also sign up and watch them later. So still, if you're interested, his is going to be a whole series of like TED Talks, like 15-minute TED Talks, and he's going to just blast you with a whole bunch of people doing ministry throughout Europe. I'm really excited. So I want to hear what's going on there. And then the fourth one is going to be the Gaming Summit, and that's the one that I'm going to be the host of. I'm not speaking at it because I didn't want to speak. I wanted to just be the host so I can make sure and follow up with people who are in the space and what they're doing. So I'm bringing several friends in. First one, and if you don't know streaming, these names are going to sound really, really weird.
Yeah.
So Christian Ninja, who is a pastor in Canada, who has an organization he started called the Alliance of Created Outreach, or TACO. I know, it's like you're online. You have to have fun stuff like that. So he is going to be speaking on how to identify the person that you're supposed to reach. So he's going to be helping us figure out that. And this isn't to just have a talk. It's also going to be, there's going to be a workbook that you're going to be working through, so to speak. It'll be digital, and it's going to be filling out your answers. And part of the whole process is when you get done with that conference, you're going to know if God's calling you, who he's calling you to, and how you're going to do it. And then another friend of mine, Chris, who is at North Hill Live, which is a church plant, a digital church plant from a physical church. So his church inherited a physical church building, and rather than starting a second campus, they said, we're going to go online. And so he's going to be talking about evaluating what you're doing online. How do you know that all the things you are hoping to do to reach this person, are you actually effective in what you're doing? Yeah. And then my friends from Lux Digital Church, Pastor Druzy, and Chino Mage. Chino Mage also works with me in the church digital. They're going to be talking about setting the table. So a little bit of how I was talking about how do I set up my community so that people know what's expected and engagement. So he's going to talk about doing that online, and then where you're going to hang out. So your forward facing of your stream, and then your community facing aspects. They're going to bring those two together. And then the final speaker is going to be Jate Live, and he has been streaming for quite a long time, and he does not want to have Christians in his stream more than 50%. He's like, if I have more than 50% Christians in my stream, I'm doing something wrong. I need to have 50% of people that are far away from God bringing them. So Christians, don't come hang out with me, please, because I'm trying to reach people farther away from God. Yeah. Now, you can come hang out, but don't make this I'm the only person you hang out with and you spend all day when I'm online. So he's going to be talking about experimenting and moving into new areas and new spaces. So how do you think through when God calls you to do something new? So he's been streaming on Twitch for a long time. He's just started streaming on TikTok. Okay. And he is having great success in that new realm. But he's gone and experimented. He's trying things, but he already knows who he's called to reach. So first you need to know who you're called to. Then are you being effective at what you're doing? And then how do you make sure that you're creating the environment for those things to happen? And then where do you grow and experiment and try new things and learn from them and see what God has to do? So that one will be on October 8th. So you can find info on all of those at missionary.digital. So
awesome. Hey, it's always fantastic to have you, just knowing you and getting to talk with you, even when we talk not on microphones. And
Oh yeah, every time we're at the same room together, we always end up chatting for quite a while until somebody else pulls us away.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's good to have you, man. Thank you so much for coming on. And
Oh man, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. I love seeing what you're doing. When we started, I wasn't even thinking about doing a podcast. So I'll plug this too. If you go to thechurch.digital and you look, you can find me. You can find all my connections there if you're looking for it. But I do have a podcast. So I bring on my friends who are Twitch streamers, and I ask them about what they're doing in ministry.
Nice.
And so it's the Gaming Outpost is what it is on the Church Digital's YouTube channel. So it's not yet out on other platforms after we get past the conferences in October. So by the end of the year, beginning of next year, you should be able to find that on Spotify and other places. And just like we're doing now, nice long 2-3 hour conversations of what people are doing, and we're in no rush. We're just going to have fun and chat whatever the conversation goes.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Awesome, man. Well, I hope people go check it out and sign up for the conference. I'm probably going to sign up for these conferences too anyway. So.
Yeah, like I said, to sign up for all of them, even if you can only make one in person or one time frame that you're able to commit to. Sign up for all of them. You'll learn something.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.